Good evening, good day, and welcome to Channel 977's This Week at the Lake, the news and feature show about people and events of interest to Lake Monticello. We're broadcasting from the High and Muriel Badler studio located in the clubhouse, and I'm your host, Ron Krauss. Today we present the two candidates who are contending to become Fluvanna County Sheriff in the election to be held on November 4. They are the current interim Sheriff Eric Hess and Mark Ballou, an Albemarle County detective who also is a special deputy U.S. Marshal. We will talk to them individually about their backgrounds, professional experience, and aspirations in seeking to head up Fluvanna County's Sheriff Department. And we will begin with interim Sheriff Eric Hess. Sheriff Hess, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, and thank you for the invitation.
Well, tell us, if you would, a little bit, first of all, about your background. Where are you born and raised and educated, and maybe how you got here to Fluvanna?
Okay, all right. First of all, my parents met during World War II. My dad was a career military man. I was born in Fort Lewis, Washington, where my dad was stationed. After I was born, we moved to Germany. My mother's family is from Upper Austria. I actually went to live with my mother, my brother, and myself. We stayed with my grandparents for about 5 years because my dad had so many different stations and places he was going. So it was unique to grow up speaking a foreign language to most folks, but I still can speak a little German if I have to. I was basically, from there we moved to Columbus, Georgia, which is another big military base. And that's pretty much where I grew up most of my life. I went to high school there. I attended Columbus State University, where I obtained a degree in criminal justice. I went to work in a state prison after obtaining my degree, thinking my career goals were going to take me into the direction of corrections and then maybe into teaching. So I finished my graduate school while I worked in the prison. I obtained an administration of criminal justice master's from Troy State University, which was part of Fort Benning. Fort Benning had two programs out there that you could attend and go to. After I finished that program, my brother and his roommate were both police officers in Columbus, Georgia. And they all along had been telling me that I really needed to give law enforcement a try. And I said, I'd really like to maybe get into teaching at some point, so maybe I need to learn more about the other side of the criminal justice field. So I went to work at Columbus Police Department, a large department at that time, probably about 480 police officers. During that time, I was also an adjunct faculty member at my alumni, Columbus State University. What happened with my master's is that the version of the Commonwealth Attorney there, the sheriff, and a couple other people taught classes, and whenever they didn't want one to teach one, they would let me come and teach class for them. So I was ready to take the leftovers and eager to learn anything that I could. My first job as a police officer was actually walking a beat, and downtown Columbus has an older section of town, and two of us just walked from block to block to block, and rattling doors and shaking doors, the old beat cop.
The original community policing,
exactly.
I mean, now new currency, apparently, right. Yes.
Yeah, now they want to know how new their car is when they start. Back then it was, I hope I had a comfortable pair of shoes. Yeah. From patrolman, after a period of time, I was asked to be a part of community relations and training in the agency, and I worked there for several years. Went on to work on a task force, a DUI seatbelt child restraint task force. At that time, I left the department and purchased a cattle farm in Georgia, and I got into the cattle business. A few years later, it was relocating here in Virginia. Back in 1997, we were looking for a good place for the kids to have good schools and a good place to have a farm. And we took a couple of tours around the area and fell in love with Fluvanna. everything kind of fell into place, and moved up here in '97. Met a gentleman called Robert Lehman, who's the current chief of Scottsville. At the time, he was the chief deputy in Albemarle County. And he said, because he was a farmer, that's how I met him. And he says, "Well, you know a lot about law enforcement." He said, "You need to come and be a reserve deputy with us." So he got me involved in the Albemarle Sheriff's Office Reserve Program back in '98. I think, and started as a reserve there, and then went on to the academy, which graduated from there, and did all my field training and everything. And then a new sheriff came in to the office over there, Ed Robb, a former state senator, and he came on board, and he said, "I'd like for you to come on full time," and I did. I went to work full time, headed up and helped him with his reserve deputy program that they had there at the office, and at that time there were probably about 40 reserve deputies, which helped supplement the Albemarle Sheriff's Office, which is courts and civil process is their main function. I worked there until I was promoted to sergeant. Also during that time we had it was the 9/11 incident in New York, and then law enforcement changed. At that time, Sheriff Robb told me, he says, "Eric, I want you to go and learn everything you can about terrorism." So he started sending me to a lot of schools in different parts of the country. During that time, we were several of us were sworn in as Special U.S. Marshals, and we actually helped man the airport post 9/11. The Sheriff's Office from Albemarle County, as well as the National Guard, we covered the airport for a little over a year. A second time in my career there at Albemarle, we were myself and at that time Deputy Steve Smith, who is now Sheriff Steve Smith of Greene County. He and I both were sworn in as Special U.S. Marshals, and we helped escort a group of doctors and business people that were wanting to provide aid to the Katrina victims.
Oh, yeah.
So we went to Mississippi, and they set up a clinic, and we helped them. They'd give us lists of like drugs or food or things that they need, and we would go pick them up at different places and distribute them to the different clinics, and did that. I think we stayed down there about 5 days until Duke University came in, and they opened up a much larger clinic.
Yeah. And when did you land here in Fluvanna?
When I moved here.
Yeah, when you landed with the Fluvanna Sheriff's Department.
In 2008, I came here as the chief deputy, and for 8 years I ran the daily operations of the sheriff's office, which include the patrol division. You have the investigations division and the administration division. The one part that's different from law enforcement is the courts and civil process division, which requires a different certification, and that's not law enforcement doesn't usually they don't serve civil process or work in the courts.